Hey everyone, it's Enchanted, and I wanted to talk about Popstar Academy. So, for you guys that don't know, Popstar Academy is a documentary showing how the group Katseye came to be. If you follow Dream Academy since the teaser and, participated in the viewing and voting of these contestants, you're probably just as confused as I was when watching the eliminations. However, this documentary gives some insight to what was going on behind the scenes and more information on the judges' input, which had a lot of weight in deciding who was being eliminated. This documentary was extremely messy, and many Cat's Eye fans were wondering if it was even a good idea to put it out. There was a lot of controversial clips floating around where lots of the current Cat's Eye members were shown in a negative light. This made many fans wonder if the documentary would even be beneficial to Cat's Eye. But however, looking at Cat's Eye's numbers increasing on almost every platform, YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, I'd say the documentary definitely helped boost them outside of that K-pop bubble. One of the major controversies that I'm seeing with this documentary was just how messy the producers were. They would often get the girls to say and do things on camera and promise that, it wouldn't be shown to other contestants and then end up broadcasting what they said or did out loud, to everybody. There was one situation where they had the girls pick who they wanted in the group. Many of the girls were assured that, the other contestants wouldn't see this, but they ended up airing it out anyway in front of every girl on that survival show. Thought this was extremely messy and messed up, especially because I do believe there were some genuine friendships put at risk. And, it was kind of interesting because we heard about this. Like, if you were watching Cat's Eye from, participating in the voting and, watching all the performance clips, we heard about this. The fans that were watching this from the beginning, we heard about, Manon not getting a lot of votes and certain members. Like, we would always hear whispers about some of the stuff going on in the documentary, but it was so vague that we kind of like nobody really had a clear understanding of what happened. So it is kind of interesting to see it kind of unfold between our eyes and get a lot more information on what actually happened. But I don't know. It's the fact, like, I know it could be extremely challenging realizing that you are one of those girls that didn't get picked or got picked the least to want to be in, got picked the least to be in somebody else's group. Like, I could see how that can really hurt. Made for good TV, but like at the same time, me watching it from an outside in, I'm like, that is crazy. Like, these aren't like these are young girls. Like, lots of them, 15 to 17, I would say would be like the average age. I know like Sophia and Manon are a little older, but like these are young girls and you guys are really playing with their mental. Like that, I don't know. That was really crazy to me. The main thing that I'm seeing all over my timeline though is the bullying situation between the girls and Manon. And I am a huge Manon fan. I voted for her every single time. But I want to give you guys an extremely unbiased take on this. So first off, I think we have to acknowledge, like I said before, many of the girls competing were underage. We all know that teenage girls can be very catty, no pun intended. As teenagers, we don't always handle things the way that we would have liked to in hindsight. We also have to keep in mind that they were in an extremely competitive environment. So, lots of these girls moved from all around the world competing to pursue their dreams. So it's very competitive. Being completely honest, and just unbiased, Manon didn't put in as much work as the other girls, point blank, period. Now, she was sick for some of it. She had COVID. But if we're being really honest, like, with the information provided, it seemed like there were many instances where she wasn't mentally or physically there and took some time off. And, it was also mentioned in the documentary that she broke some of the dorm rules as well, like coming in late, things of that nature. And one thing that we have to understand is, you know, for Manon's sake, is that, there are cultural differences at play. We're taking girls, like I said, from all around the world. Manon is from Switzerland. So, from my understanding, many European countries in that region, they tend to put a lot of emphasis on mental and physical health. I know many of these countries, they get a ton of vacation days, a lot of time to spend with their families, hour or 2 hour lunches so that they can get plenty of rest and, go home and see their family if needed. Like things like that. They have way healthier work and home balance. This was probably what Manon was used to and didn't realize that, this laxness that she had was really messing with the other girls. I am seeing most of this heat against Adela, and there's a lot of heat coming for Sophia and Laura as well, who are current Cat's Eye members. Many people are mad at how Laura and Sophia were treating Manon. But you guys have to understand a couple things. First, they weren't team members at the time. And two, they weren't necessarily wrong for feeling the way that they were feeling. For one, like I said earlier, in the beginning, Manon did not put in as much effort as the other girls. Girls like Adela and Megan, they probably put in the most work out of all the trainees, and they were ranked extremely low in the beginning in terms of fan voting. This would really hurt, and in this case, I feel like it was many girls' reality, like first taste of the real world. You can put in as all the effort that you want, but in many cases, you will have no control over your outcome of life. Like that's kind of a harsh reality that kind of hits us. Most of us we get hit with that. Once we join the real world, like looking for our first job and things. But they learned that at such a young age. Imagine putting in so much work and someone that hasn't done nearly as much work as you is getting all the benefits that you believe that your hard work afforded you, if that makes sense. It's kind of like when you go to college, you do really good in your grades, you get a bunch of internships, start applying to a lot of jobs, and the boss's nephew gets the job with far less experience. You would be bitter too based on how much work you put into trying to secure yourself a job. At the end of the day, I would have to remind myself that, it sucks, but I would take that opportunity too if I had the connection. You know what I mean? Like in the same way, these girls have to realize that it really isn't Manon's fault for her popularity. Her star power drew a lot of fans, including myself. And yes, as a black man, I wanted to see some black representation in the group. So yeah, I'm gonna vote for Manon. And this was another point that the girls mentioned that I really didn't agree with. They had said something along the lines like, and again, I can understand their frustrations, but Adela, I think, believe or mentioned that, Manon was only getting this attention because of her looks. And this really irked me because the majority of the top applicants got the positions that they were, or they were in this top positions that they were in based on their looks and where they were from. Like Sophia and Lara had a ton of fans coming from the Philippines and India voting for them. Nayoung had a lot of Korean fans voting for her, and we saw that once she got eliminated, Yoon Chae started to, rise in the ranks as well because all the Korean fans started voting for her. So, them acting like she was the only one that benefited from her looks is just like crazy because the top members were already kind of solidified based off of their nationalities and where they were from. So, it was outside of their skill set for all of them. Like they weren't getting voted on for their skills necessarily at the beginning. So, for them to kind of single Manon out and target her out on this, it just made no sense because everybody benefited from their looks, not just Manon. I do understand how the voting system could be extremely unfair to those girls, though. Like I really felt bad for Adela when watching this documentary, like I'm not gonna lie. In reality, most people picked who they wanted based on, the Dream Academy teaser and Mission One, and they just stuck with it. I think Megan or not, was it Megan or Daniela, I think, rose a lot after, covering that Lesser Femme song, but most of the girls were pretty stagnant in their positions. For the least popular contestants, this had to be extremely crippling because, like Adela, it showed that it didn't matter how talented you were if the fans chose to overlook you. Like, imagine training for 2 years and then you see your ranking as last. Like, that has to be the worst feeling. And I can't imagine like what the girls were going through mentally, just knowing that, they were the least popular and just having to just kind of be in that environment where some of your friends are like being most popular and they don't have to worry about getting eliminated, but you're on the crash end. It was the I forget her name, but the girl was it Carlene, the girl from Japan. Felt so bad for her because I'm just like I don't know. I feel like I'd be in that position too. I'd be low ranked too, and I'd just be like I don't know. It just I know that was a terrible feeling. I feel like they should have given the girls each like a little bit more time to really showcase themselves, which would have given them more of a fair shot. I don't know why they kind of just went off of the first initial votings. Like I feel like it should have been like a grace period. This is why I kind of have mixed you know I have mixed feelings on the way they decided the members. I think it was a smart to give the audience members a choice, on who should be on the group, but we had no backstory, so we weren't really able to fully vote off of skills and personality. And I think that was pretty unfair. Like, just to be completely transparent, I think that was unfair. Just to summarize my thoughts, I honestly really liked this documentary. It was raw and it really showed how cutthroat and unfair the K-pop industry is. You know, you not only have to have the talents, but you have to have the star factor as well. Many of the girls in the documentary are on the younger side, with many being, dealt unfair hands as well. So I think many of us are looking at it from an outside point of view and we're judging these girls, and how they approach different situations, not realizing that many of us would have acted in a similar way if we were put in those similar situations. A snapshot of misjudgment in, your life shouldn't represent you. So, the girls handled it, they worked it out. I'm kind of tired of seeing the hate from even Adela, or Laura and Sophia. Like, you guys really need to dead that because lots of times you guys try to come from a superiority complex, but I'm sure there's times where you guys have been mean and catty in your lives or friend groups. So, you guys need to drop that seriously. When I first watched the clips, of Manon getting picked on, I was enraged, just like many of you guys. I saw the documentary, and then I had a bit more understanding to, the backstory. The girls were being catty with Manon. They should have just, came to her, and if they had a problem, just dealt with it pretty much there. You know, Admittedly, a lot of it was definitely jealousy mixed with their own insecurities about, their group, their position in the out of the group of the girls. Like, if you were low, you were obviously gonna probably have a lot more emotional like rage towards Manon. I don't know how else to put it, but you're obviously gonna maybe look at Manon a little crazier because like you said, I'm coming to work every day, 8 to 8. That's a ridiculous schedule. 8 to 8 o'clock is crazy. They're coming in 8 to 8. Imagine dedicating two years of your life going to training from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and then getting out first. Like that, I feel Adela. So like, I see all the hate coming towards Adela. I feel her. I feel so bad. And lots of these girls, they were fighting for their livelihoods. Lots of them didn't all come from privileged backgrounds. So, you could see how some of that animosity could build when viewing their positions and then other girls that are, you know, kind of skating by a little bit, but I think we need to be fair with these critiques. But I also really liked the documentary and enjoyed, the behind the scenes of Cat's Eye was formed. It might have been more beneficial, I think, to just show the documentary when airing, just showing it all at once, just so that we can just get a more well-rounded picture before, the voting. It might have been a lot more fair to the, contestants as well, because then we could see, how much effort they're putting in and, but they decided to do it that how they did it for some reason, put the performances out before and have us judge on that. Which was really confusing to voters like me. Like, trust me, everybody was confused when we were voting. We're like, okay, they decided. I don't know why they worded it, but like everybody was confused when certain members would like Nayoung, like everybody, she was ranked like in the top 6 for the most part, and then just got eliminated. Everybody was like, "What is like? How is this being chosen?" Like it was very confusing for everybody involved. But I don't know. What were your guys' thoughts on the documentary? Did it change how you viewed any Cat's Eye members? I remember for a couple days I was kind of looking at Sophia and Laura crazy a bit, when I was just seeing the clips and you know, I was like, they're kind of like looking really mean, but from an unbiased lens, I really had to be fair. I think this really highlighted what a competitive environment can do to you. People will do things when put in situations that they would never do under normal circumstances. Kind of like how in the show Survivor, how you see like lawyers, businessmen, CEOs, they go feral once they get into the jungle with bad weather and little food. You really can't make quick judgments off of the situation when everybody involved is very uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Just putting that out there. But what are your guys' thoughts on this? I would really like to know in the comments. Like and subscribe. See you guys in the next video.